Welcome to this predicted paper from onmaths. This paper represents the best guess for the upcoming exams. Please use this paper in addition to your other revision. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. Onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing. Enjoy! For us to create the smallest number, we need to pick the smallest digits at the start of the number. So the smallest digit is 3, then the next smallest digit is 4, next smallest digit is 5, then the next smallest digit is 8. But it wants it to be an odd number, and this is an even number. So we have to move that 8 forward one and have that 5 at the end. So the smallest odd number is 3,485. So we need to first of all understand what a cube number is. So a cube number is the answer to when you get 3 integers or whole numbers and we multiply them by themselves 3 times. So 1 times 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, 3 times 3 times 3 is 27, 4 times 4 times 4 is 64, and 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. So 1, 8, 27, 64, 125 are all cube numbers, and it goes on forever. And this question's asked us to find all the odd, or an odd, cube number that is smaller than 100. So it has to be odd, so that gets rid of the 8 and the 64. And it has to be smaller than 100, so that gets rid of the 125. So I can either write down 1 would be a fine answer, or 27. I'm going to go for 1. So we're just going to start by writing the number a little bit bigger. So it says 2 decimal places, so we're going to draw a line after the second decimal place. Now all the numbers to the right are going to disappear. They're going to turn to 0, and because it's a decimal, that just means we get rid of them. But we have to look at this number first. Now if this number is less than 5, we just keep the number to the left, so 8.17. But if it's 5 or more, then this 7 goes up to an 8. So this will be 8.18. So for shop A, they're selling the rulers in lots of 3. And so we just need to get our 60 and divide it by 3 to figure out how many lots of 3 we have. So we've got 20. So if one bundle of rulers costs £1.50, then 20 times £1.50 would be £30. So in total it would cost £30 at shop A. We're going to do the same for shop B. Their bundles are 5 rulers, so we're going to do 60 divided by 5, which is 12. So we're going to buy 12 bundles at £2 each, and that will be £24. So the cheapest price is at shop B at £24. So 55% is the same as 55 over 100. And what I can do is I can divide top of the fraction by 5. And so that is going to equal 11 over 20. Now in total there are 20 squares here, because there's 5 across and 4 down. 5 times 4 is 20. And if there's 20 squares and we're looking to shade in 11/20ths, it's just going to be 11 squares. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So what we need to do is find out where the graph is at its highest, and so it's highest here. And so if we go down from there, we find out what year it is. Well, these years seem to be going up in 1, so that's 1950, 1951, 1952. So the answer would be 1952. Just like when you're simplifying fractions, you can't have decimals at the top and bottom. You can't have decimals at the top, at the left and right of a ratio. So we're going to have to get rid of this decimal. And the way we're going to do that is just simply times each side by 10. And that will leave 4, and that will be 60. Now we can simplify this further, because I can divide left and right by 2. So that would be 2 to 30. And I can actually do the same again. I can divide them by 2 again. And that would be 1 to 15. Now you might have just divided by 4, and that would also give the right answer. In fact, there's a couple of different methods that you can get the same answer with. So we have a set of vertically opposite angles here and here. And we're going to start with those because we have to find out what m is before we can work out what x is. And vertically opposite angles are always equal, so we've got 13m plus 39 is going to equal 2m plus 149. And we're going to get our lines in there because we're going to solve this. And to solve this, we first of all take away the smaller amount of m, because we've got m's on both sides. We can't really cope with that when we're solving. And so we've got a 13m and a 2m. So we're going to remove the 2m. We're going to take that away from both sides to start off. And so we're left with 11m plus 39. And we've just got the 149 on the right hand side. Next we're going to remove the number. So take away 39 from both sides. And we've got 11m is equal to 110. And then we're going to divide both sides by 11 to find out what m is. So m therefore equals 10. So we know if m equals 10, we can then work out x. And the way we can do that is the fact that this one and this one are both on a straight line. So they are both on this straight line here. So we know that they've got to add up to 180. So let's write that down. 13m plus 39 plus x is equal to 180 degrees, or I don't normally put that in for the working out, I always put that in for the answer. So we can solve this, or well, first of all we know what m is, so it'd be 13 times n, which is 130, and then we can solve this. So let's get my solving lines in. And so that's going to be 169 plus x equals 180. And we're going to just take that away from both sides, the 169. So we've got x equals 11. So the value of x will be 11 degrees. For mutually exclusive events for A and B, the probability of A or B is equal to the probability of A plus the probability of B. Now we're given the probability of A or B, which is 0.36, and we're given the probability of A, which is 0.12. And so to work out the probability of B, all we need to do is going to solve this. We're just going to take away 0.12 from both sides, and that will give us 0.24 is equal to the probability of B. So B must be 0.24. It only works if A and B are mutually exclusive though. I'm going to write the expression given to us but with times signs in. So it's 2 times x plus 15 times y. And it says that x is -3 and y is 4. So instead of x we're going to replace it with a -3, and I'm just going to put it into brackets just to make things a bit easier. And instead of y, we're going to write a 4. So here we've got 2 times -3. A positive times a negative is a negative, and 2 times 3 is 6. Plus, and we've got 15 times 4, which is going to be 60. So we've got -6 plus 60. A different way of doing that is 60 minus 6 gives you the same answer, which is going to be 54. So we're going to track the amount of eggs needed to make a certain amount of cupcakes. So we're given in the question that it's 6 cupcakes requires 4 eggs, And what we're going to do is we're just going to work out how many eggs is required for one cupcake. So we're going to divide both sides by 6. And that's for one cupcake will be 2/3 of an egg. And we're looking to make 18 cupcakes, so I'm going to times that by 18 on both sides. So for 18 cupcakes, 2/3 times 18 is going to be 12 eggs. So we're going to require 12 eggs. Something else we could have done to go straight there is just times the amount of cupcakes by 3 and times the amount of eggs by 3. To get from the length of a square to the area, we square the length. To work backwards, what we do is we square root, because the inverse of square is square root. So we've got 196, and we're going to square root it to find the length. So we work out the square root of 196, which is what number times itself is 196. And you should learn them from 1 to 15, so you should know all of the square numbers from 1 to 15. So you should know that the answer is 14. So the length therefore is 14. So to work out what the perimeter is going to be the distance around the square. So if I draw a square out, we know that each of these lengths are 14. So it's just going to be 14 times 4, which will be 56. The experimental probability is the successful outcomes divided by the total number of outcomes. So we're looking for the probability that it's white, so it's going to be 25 over, and we're just going to do 35 plus 25 plus 31, which is 91, and that's our probability, 25 over 91. Be careful when it say total, you must include all of the outcomes, so red, white, and other. Another way of writing a to the power of 6 is a times a times a times a times a times a. And another way of writing a to the power of power of 5 is a times a times a times a times a. Now you might notice that altogether there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 a's that are being multiplied together. When you multiply something together 11 times, you get that thing, which is an a, to the power of 11. An easier way of doing this is just adding the powers. So when you've got the same base, which we do here because they're both a, you just add the powers together. So we've got to first of all work out how many parts there are all together. So we're told that the ratio of red, yellow and green is 3 to 2 to 4. So to work out how many parts there are all together, we do 3 plus 2 plus 4, which is 9 parts. So there's 9 equal piles of sweets. Okay, but to work out what one part or one pile of sweets is worth, we're going to get the 99 sweets and divide it by the amount of piles, and that's going to be 11. So one part is worth 11 sweets. We're asked to find out how many yellow sweets, and yellow is the middle one, so it's going to be the 2. So yellow has 2 piles of 11 sweets. 2 times 11 is going to be 22, so it's going to be 22 sweets. So to do this question, you just need a piece of paper, a ruler and a protractor. And the first thing we do is we draw the 11 centimetre line. And my one will not be 11 centimetres for you. It is on my screen, but because depending on what device you watch this on will change obviously its length. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my protractor on this end here. So I've kind of got my protractor here. And I'm going to just have a look at getting 39 degrees. Now you've got to be careful because 39 is on the inside, and I'm just going to do a dot. So always look to see which one, the inside or the outside of the protractor, starts at 0, and the inside should start at 0 from this side. And I'm just going to draw a line that connects the end of that line and the dot, like so. Now just you can keep it going. Right, the next thing I'm going to do is put my protractor on the other side. So my protractor is kind of here, and I'm lining up the crosshairs with this point here. But this time I'm measuring on the left hand side, and I'm looking at 59 degrees, which will be here. Get my ruler. Now this time I can actually stop where it hits the other line. So keep going and then stop where it hits the other line. This screen's not perfectly calibrated, so it's difficult to do precise work, something like that. And then what you can do is you can get your rubber and just rub out the extra bit of line that we had to do. And so this is our 39 degrees here, and you don't need to label this on the diagram, but just so we know what we're doing. And it says when it's completed, measure length x. So I'm going to get my ruler out, and I'm going to measure this length here, this one here, and it is about 95 millimeters. So the answer for me is 95 millimeters. Now there is some level of precision. You're not going to get necessarily exactly 95 millimeters. When we mark these questions, we normally have an overlay and we put it over the top, and if it's roughly the same, and you can make small errors because nobody's perfect, and my diagram definitely is not perfect, but there are allowable small errors here and there. It's really important when answering this question that we're really methodical. So we're going to start off just looking at stake, and so I'm going to start off with the S, and we're going to pair it with the first dessert, which is the I. Then we're going to pair the steak with the second dessert, which is the mousse. Then we're going to pair it with the third dessert, which is the fruit. So we're being really methodical. We've done all of the combinations with steak, and so we're going to look at burger next, and we're going to pair it with the first ice cream, then burger, and we're going to pair it with the mousse, and then finally the burger we're going to pair with the fruit. As long as we do things methodically, we don't ever miss any. To work out the area of a circle, we first of all need to work out what the radius is. Now the radius is half the distance of the diameter. So to work out what the radius is, we get the diameter and we halve it, which will be 15 centimeters. So the formula for the area is pi times r squared, or pi r squared. If we know the radius is 15, it will be 15 squared. 15 squared is 225. And the way we write this is we put the number first and then we just put pi after it when it asks us to leave it in terms of pi. So it'd be 225 pi. Now the reason why we would do this is if we want to keep all the precision, we can do it in terms of pi so we don't have to round it. To find the surface area of the cuboid, I'm just going to label the faces and do them individually. So we've got A, which is 24 by 13. So we're going to do 24 times 13, which is 312. Next we're going to do B, which is this one at the top, and it's 24 across and 8 is the length. So 24 times 8, which is 192. And finally C on this side here, which is going to be 13 times 8, which is 104. Now notice that the faces all have the exact same face on the opposite side. So this one at the back is also A, this one at the side is also C, and the one at the bottom is also b. So what I'm going to do is add up all the areas of the squares and double it. So to work out the surface area, we're going to do 2 times and then 312 plus 192 plus 104, and that will give me 1,216 centimeters cubed squared, because it's an area. To work out the area of a rectangle, we just multiply the width and the length. Here they are mixed numbers, so all we do is the width times the length. Now when you multiply with fractions, always make them top heavy first, or improper, and to do that you times the big number by the bottom and add it to the top. So we're going to do 1 times 2 and add it to the top, so 3 over 2. Same with this one, 1 times the 3 at the bottom added to the top. 1 times 3 is 3, add to the top is 5. Now we've got to get the numerator, we don't need to get the numerator the same, we're multiplying. All we do now, really easily, is just multiply the tops and multiply the bottoms. So we've got to convert 15 over 6 into a mixed number because it asks for a mixed number. So 15, how many 6's go into 15? Well, we're first of all going to have 2 whole ones, and how many left over? There are going to be 3 left over. Now 3 over 6 is the same as 1/2 because we can divide top and bottom by 3. So our answer is 2.5. So I'm going to start just by writing out the equation, and I can put my lines in. Okay, we're asked to make x the subject, so we're going to first of all add 10 to both sides. In fact, I'm just going to move all this over a little bit so I've got a bit more space. Okay, so we're left with m plus 10 on the left hand side, and we've got 1/7 x on the right hand side. Now to get rid of the 1/7, what I can do is just times both sides by 7. So 7 brackets m plus 10 equals x. So x therefore would equal 7 brackets m plus 10, but it says to expand your answer fully, so we're just going to expand the brackets. 7m plus 70. So Pythagoras says that a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and the c is the one opposite the right angle. So I'm going to label this a and b, so it would be 5 squared plus 12 squared equals c squared. 25 plus 144 is equal to c squared, and then 25 plus 144 is 169. And then we're solving to find out what c is, and we're just going to square root both sides. So square root of 169 is 13, so c is 13. On a scatter graph, an outlier is a point which doesn't fit the pattern. And as we can see here, all of these coordinates fit kind of a nice line going down there. So they all are showing a trend. But we've got this point here that's nowhere near that trend at all, and that's what we call an outlier. So we know that these are going up in 2's, so this will be 28, so the x coordinate will be 28, and this will be 19. So our coordinate will be 28, 19 for our outlier. Okay, so we're going to start by writing this out a little bit bigger, give us a bit more space. So it's minus 6x is less than 60. And we're going to do our tram lines down. And we're going to start by dividing both sides by minus 6, because that's what this is doing. It's timesing the x by minus 6. So I'm going to divide both sides by minus 6. So that gets rid of the minus 6 on the left hand side. And it's going to be 60 divided by minus 6, which will be minus 10. Now we've got to be really careful here, because whenever you times or divide both sides by a negative, you must switch the inequality. So instead of pointing to the left, it's now going to point to the right. So our answer is x is greater than minus 10. The formula y equals mx plus c includes this m, and the m means the gradient. So if we're looking for something that is parallel to y equals 9x plus 18, we're looking at this number here. And for it to be parallel, it needs to have the same gradient. So we could just write y equals 9x plus or subtract anything. Or we could just write y equals 9x. I'm going to say plus 5. So to make estimates from a scatter graph, we've got to first of all draw a line of best fit, which would be something like this. And what we'll do is to find estimate of test score B, given the fact they got 25 on test A, means that we would draw a line up from test A at 25. Should be here, and then across. And that's how we'd make the estimate. But look at where that is hitting our line of best fit. It's hitting it here. What do you notice about this position here? Well, all of our data is down here. We don't know whether this trend continues up at this point here. We have no idea. For instance, if you were to plot a scatter graph of height against age, we would see it would increase like that. But that line doesn't continue on forever. Like, you're not a 10-foot giant at the age of 30. You do slowly stop growing. And so we don't know whether the trend continues. So we call this extrapolation. So we say that the data has been extrapolated. And what that means is it is probably not accurate. So when you have the data outside the range of the data, when you have a prediction, outside the range of the data, we say it's probably not accurate. If it was inside the data, we would say it's interpolated, and that's actually quite accurate. So the rules of indices state that if you have a power inside and outside of a bracket, we just multiply them together. So it's 10 to the power of minus 12 times minus 12. Two negatives make a positive, and 12 times 12 is 144. First thing I'm going to do is just draw the square out, and we know the length of it is 10x plus 10, but it is a square, so that's the same all the way around it. But we're also told that the perimeter is 440, so the perimeter is 440. So what we can do is we can work out the perimeter in algebra by multiplying 10x plus 10 by 4, or just adding up the 4 lengths that we've got. So we're going to do 4 times 10x plus 10. But we also know that that is going to be 440 because we're told in the question that the perimeter is 440. So put our lines in because we're going to solve, and we're just going to start by expanding the brackets. So that'll be 40x plus 40 equals 440. Then we're going to get rid of the plus 40 first, so take away 40 both sides. And so that would be 40x equals 400. And then we get rid of the 40 before the x, so we divide both sides by 40. And we've got x equals 10. So our answer is 10. So if 2 people liked action but not comedy films, and in total 11 liked action films, therefore there's going to be 9 who also liked comedy, because these two have to add up to 11. Now if there's 9 who liked action and comedy, and 16 who liked comedy in total, if we do 16 take away the 9, that leaves 7. So 7 only liked comedy. It says there's 23 people altogether, so what we're going to do is take away the people who liked action, the people who liked both, and the people who liked comedy. Take all those away from 23, and we're left with 5. So the answers are going to be 9, 7, and 5. We can rewrite this question as 2 over 3 divided by 20 over 1. So whenever you have an integer, it's just the same as that integer over 1. Now the rule is that we're going to keep, flip, and change. So we're going to keep the first fraction as 2/3, change the divide to a times and flip the second fraction. Then we multiply the tops and multiply the bottoms. We can actually halve top and bottom here, and it does ask us to simplify it if possible. So our answer is 1 over 30. So we're going to first of all work out where 9 is on the y-axis. Well, we've got 8 here and 10 here, so 9 will be halfway in between. And what we're going to do now is just draw a line across at 9, and then wait until it hits the line, and then we're going to draw a line down, and you can see here that x is 1. So our answer is that x equals 1. This looks like it's a really tricky question, and it is a little bit tricky, but it's a little bit easier than maybe it looks. The highest common factor is found when you have the prime factors, which we do, of two numbers, and you put them into a Venn diagram. Then you can find the prime factor, the highest common factor, by multiplying all the numbers in the overlap. So we're going to rewrite these numbers just, instead of squared, we're just going to write them out without index form. Just makes it a bit easier. And so I'm just removing the squares. And we're going to draw ourselves a Venn diagram. So let's just do a rectangle at the outside. I'm going to try and do some nice circles here. Try my best anyway. Okay, so on the left hand side we have the 450, on the right hand side we have the 132. So we'll start with the 450 and the numbers. So actually looking at the numbers, looking at the factors at the top, the prime factors, we can see they both have a 2 in them, so I cross them both out and put 2 in the middle. We can see they both have a 3 in them, so cross those 3's out and put 3 in the middle. And then 450 has a 3, a 5 and a 5. And 132 has the 2 and the 11. So to find the highest common factor, as I said, you multiply all the numbers that are in the middle. And so the highest common factor will be 6. So to find the area of a rectangle, we do length times the width. So here, to find the area, we will do the 10 times the whole of the 10t plus 4. And to show that we're doing the whole of it, we put it in brackets. So a different way of writing that is 10 brackets 10t plus 4. And whichever method you use to expand brackets, feel free to do it here. I'm going to just do the grid method, but whatever method you prefer. Actually, I don't need the, I've done too many here. Let's get rid of that. So we've got 10 times 10t plus 4. So we're timesing them, so 10 times 10t, 10 times 10 is 100, so it'd be 100t, 10 times 4 is 40. So our answer will be 100t plus 40. When something is squared, you times it by itself. So another way of writing this is 6x to the power of 7 times 6x to the power of 7. The 6's can go together, and the x to the power of 7's can go together. And 6 times 6 is 36. And x to the power of 7 times x to the power of 7. When you times powers, you add them. So 7 plus 7 is 14. Something else you could have done is just squared the 6 to make 36. And one of the rules is that if you have a power on the inside of a bracket and a power on the outside of the bracket, you multiply them. So 7 times 2 is 14. To find the gradient, we use a simple formula, which is m equals the second y-coordinate take away the first y-coordinate over the second x-coordinate take away the first x-coordinate. So our second y-coordinate is 17, so it's going to be 17 take away the first one, which is 14, over the second x-coordinate, which is 60, take away the first one, which is 45. So that's going to be 3 over 15, and then cancel that down. to be 1 over 5. So our gradient is 1/5. So here we're asked to factorise a quadratic, and we know it's a quadratic because it's got an x squared term, an x term, and a number term. And what we're going to do is we're going to be, first of all, putting two sets of brackets down with an x at the start of each. And what we're trying to find is what number goes here and what number goes here. So we're going to start by looking at this minus 45. And it's a special number because we're looking for two numbers that multiply together to make that minus 45. We're also going to look at this plus 12 here because we're looking for two numbers that add together to make that 12. So what we can do is write out the factors of minus 45. And so that's going to be minus 1 and 45, minus 3 and 15, minus 5 and 9, and then the same but the other way around. So 1 and minus 45, 3 and minus 15, and 5 and minus 9. Remember, we're looking for them to add together to make 12. So we look down the list here, which ones add together to make 12. This one here, minus 3 plus 15 is 12. So our answers will be minus 3 and plus 15, or the other way around. So here we're given a standard form number, and we're asked to make it an ordinary number, which is just a number you type into the calculator. So we're going to start off by writing the decimal, which is 6.2, and we're going to shift that decimal point somewhere that it will be the actual number rather than standard form anymore. First thing to point out is we look at the power. If it's positive, it means that our ordinary number is going to be a big number. If it's negative, it means it's going to be a very small number. Since this is positive, we know it's going to be a big number. So we're going to do 4 jumps, because there's a power of 4, to the right to make it a big number. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So the decimal point is going to be here. And we're going to fill in the jumps with zeros. So 0, 0, 0. So our new number is going to be 62 with 3 zeros, or 62,000. Now it's important to realise that we're actually shifting the numbers, not the decimal point, but it's a lot easier to move the decimal point in our working out. First thing I can do with this question is write it as a fraction, because divide just means over. So we're going to have 42 times 10 to the power of 11 over 7 times 10 to the power of 2. And we can actually split those fractions up. So we've got 42 over 7 times 10 to the power of 11 over 10 to the power of 2. And you can see we're just doing it separately. So 42 divided by 7 is 6 times, and then with dividing, or as a fraction, when we divide powers of the same base, we take away the powers. So 11 take away 2 is going to be 10 to the power of 9. So it's going to be 6 times 10 to the power of 9. With this question, you've just got to know what the different functions look like. So with C and D, we've got quadratic functions. One's a positive quadratic, which is a U shape. One's a negative quadratic, which is a kind of upside down U shape or an N shape. And here we don't have that, so we can get rid of those in our thoughts straight away. A is a positive cubic, which goes up, then down, then up again. And B is a negative cubic, which goes down, up, and then down again. So this one here goes up, down, up again. That's going to be a positive cubic. So our answer is A. When it's said that y is inversely proportional to x, it means that y changes as 1 over x changes. And to write this in an equation, all we do is we just write y equals k over x. Now k is something we need to find. So what we need to do is find out what a value of y and a value of x are somewhere on the graph that would be formed from this, and we've got that in this question. So we know that when y is 7, then x is going to be 7.9. And what I need to do now is just draw my lines down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just times both sides by 7.9. And so we have k equals, and it'd be 7 times 7.9, which is 55.3. So we know that k is 55.3. So I'm just going to rewrite this equation here, or this formula here. But instead of k, I know that it's going to be 55.3. So our answer is y equals 55.3 over x. So when we're doing column vectors and adding and subtracting them, we just literally add and subtract the top and bottom numbers. So a plus b minus c will be, just looking at the top, 9 plus 18 minus 9, 9 plus 18 minus 9, which will equal 18. And the bottom will be 9 plus minus 18, so really minus 18, and minus 9. And so that will be minus 18. So our column vector will become 18 minus 18. Something we know about rectangles is opposite sides are equal. So these two will be equal. And these two will be equal. And you notice now that we've got simultaneous equations. So what I'm going to do is get the coefficient of the y the same. And I'm going to do that by multiplying everything in the second equation by 3. So we get 6x plus 9y equals 123. And I'm just going to write in the first equation underneath, because with simultaneous equations we work downwards. Now looking at the signs, they are the same, and the s in same is the s in subtract. So we're going to subtract going downwards. We're just going to subtract going downwards. So 6x take away 3x is 3x. 9y take away 9y is nothing, which is good. That's what we need. And then 123 take away 93 is 30. We're going to get our solving lines in, and we're just going to divide by 3 both sides. So we've got x equals 10. So we know what x is, but we need to find out what y is. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick one of the equations. I could pick the 2x plus 3y equals 41, and just substitute the value of x in. So 2 times, instead of x, it's times 10, plus 3y equals 41. So it would be 20 plus 3y equals 41. Get my solving lines in. And we're going to take away 20 both sides. So we've got 3y equals 21. And then we're going to divide by 3 both sides, if I don't run out of room. So y equals 7. So we've got x equals 10, y equals 7. Now I could check that with the first equation as well. So 3 times 10 is 30, 9 times 7 is 63, 30 plus 63 is 93. So we know we've got it right. So here we're given a right angle triangle, and the question involves 2 lengths and angles, so we know we could be using trigonometry. So let's start by labelling our sides. The one opposite the right angle is the hypotenuse, the one opposite the marked angle is the opposite, and the one between the right angle and the marked angle is the adjacent. Now notice the hypotenuse doesn't have a number or letter next to it, so let's get rid of that. Next thing we do is draw our trigonometry triangles. So we've got SO, Ca, Toa. Now we've crossed out the H, so we're not going to be interested in the SO or the Ca. So it's going to be Toa. Toa is short for tan the angle equals opposite over adjacent. The angle is 60, so it's tan 60 equals x over 1. And so now here we're looking for the exact value of x. So if I times both sides here, let's just get our solving lines in here, and times both sides by 1, or just get rid of the fraction, we end up with x equals tan 60. Now you need to know off by heart what tan 60 is, and we can work it out just briefly by drawing a right angle triangle. Sorry, not a right angle triangle, an equilateral triangle. So that is going to be 60 by 60 by 60. And we're going to put all the lengths around the outside as 2. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it down the middle. And I'm just going to cut it into half. And so the length at the bottom will be 1. And using Pythagoras, we've got to work out the length here. It's going to be 2 squared, which is 4, take away 1 squared, which is 1, will be 3, and then square root it would be root 3. So we know that's going to be root 3. So looking at labelling the sides here, just pick a colour to make sure it's nice. So we've got the hypotenuse here, we've got the adjacent here, and then the root 3 will be the opposite. And so we're looking for tan 60. So tan, as we know, is the opposite over adjacent. And so tan 60 is going to be the opposite, which is root 3, over the adjacent, which is 1 in our diagram there. So tan 60 is equivalent, it's the same as root 3 over 1, or just root 3. I'm going to do just a quick multiplication grid. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the 2x plus 3 at the top, so 2x and then plus 3, and then 3x minus 11 down the side. Multiply them out, 3 times 2 is 6, so that'd be 6x squared, 3 times 3 is 9, so that'd be 9x. Minus 11 times positive 2 will be minus 22x. And then minus 11 times positive 3 will be minus 33. Get them all together, so we've got 6x squared plus 9x, because that is a positive, minus 22x minus 33. And we can see here that the plus 9x and the minus 22x are like terms, so we can add them together to make minus 13x. And that's our answer. So our answer is 6x squared minus 13x minus 33. What I'm going to start off by doing is rearranging this equation so that it kind of matches this one. So I'm just going to write it down. And we want the n to be minus 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my rearranging lines in, and we're just going to add 10 to both sides. Now, we've already got this line drawn for us on this graph, and so all we need to do is draw this line. So we've got y equals 10x squared plus 8x minus 2 drawn for us. We just need to draw this line, which is y equals 10, and see where they cross over to find the solutions. So y equals 10 will be all the way up at the top. Let's just make sure I get it nice. There we are. I need to move that up a little bit. There we are. And let's read off the values that that gives us. So it comes down here, and it comes down here. So the values it comes down to are minus 1.6 and 0.8. And those are our solutions. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing.